Okay, this is my experience with Hurricane Katrina. At the time I was living in South Carolina, I was supposed to be living in South Carolina. Um, I was actually living there. Um, I had drove back to. I was in Texas at the time. I was in Dallas, and I remember I was at my friend Fitzgerald's house, and I remember seeing on the news they kept talking about a big storm's coming, a big storm's coming, a big storm's coming. So we were supposed to go make some money illegally, obviously, but he was like, "Well, they talking about this a big storm coming, so we might want to stay here until after the storm passes." I was like, "Okay, that's fine with me," because I really didn't want to go anyway. And with Dallas, when it rains like that, we get like um because everything is flat, the water sits on top of the ground a lot, and it causes a lot of hydroplaning. And the vehicle I had at the time was a Chevy Monte Carlo, and so it was really easy for it to hydroplane. So it was. He was like, I was like, it's kind of fine with me anyway. So I was like, whatever. But this is the thing: storms like that happen all the time. So we didn't think nothing about it. We were just gonna wait till the storm passed. So we sat there and I was watching TV and it's like the storm hit. This is what it's doing. La la la. Normal. To me, it's normal because at that point I've been living in Dallas for 5 years, and this was a year after I moved away from Dallas. So I had been gone for a year and I came back and it's still the same. It's the same stuff. So I'm just watching the news and the storm hit. So we go make our money and then we come back and we're sitting at the house just kind of like chilling around a little bit for a couple of days and then I was like I was going to go home. Then now keep in mind everything in Dallas to me looks exactly the same as it does after any storm. There's nothing different, okay? I'm not listening to the radio. I don't normally listen to the radio. At the time I had a CD and a 12-inch speaker subwoofer in my trunk. So I was listening to CDs all the time, every day. I rarely listened to the radio because they play a lot of commercials and that got a little irritating. And I didn't have satellite. I couldn't really afford. I mean, I could afford satellite radio, but the way my money came in, I needed to keep reoccurring bills to a minimum. So it was like utilities and my cell phone, and that was it. So I didn't have satellite. I had my aftermarket stereo and my subwoofer in the trunk and my CDs, and that was it. So I'm riding around doing whatever. I'm still not seeing or hearing anything about Katrina in the city of Dallas. A week, like almost like a week passes after that storm, and then my friend Fitzgerald was like, "Have you seen the news?" I was like, "No." He was like, "You need to see the news and see what's going on in New Orleans." I was like, "Okay," but it still hadn't dawned on me. One morning, he got up and went somewhere, and I was at the house by myself, or I was at the house with his roommate. I can't remember, but the news happened to come on, and it's like there's a special report. Hurricane has wiped out New Orleans. It still didn't dawn on me. I was like, well, okay, that happens all the time. This happened before. A big storm hit Louisiana while I was down there. They started showing these videos of everything being flooded out. Keep in mind, to me, this is still normal because a storm has hit Dallas like that before, and like Corpus Christi down there, it had been flooded out before. It was like it was normal to Texans. It still hadn't. It was not like big to me. So it didn't get big to me until at the time that it registered to me that it shut the city down like bad, bad, was when the second hurricane was about to come through. And this time they was talking about it was going to hit Houston. And then that's when it hit Dallas news really hard. Then I was like, okay, wait, this is for real. This is serious. So I'm seeing on the news how after all those people had ran from New Orleans. No, okay, so I was watching the news and like I knew the time I knew it was serious in New Orleans. This is all around about the same time. There was this guy on the news. He was like, "No, this is for real. We down here for real. We stuck for real. This is not. This is not a movie. This is not fake. This is real." He was standing outside of the Superdome, and he was saying, "Y'all send somebody down here, please." But I was sitting at home thinking, "Okay, if it's that bad, the government's gonna send somebody." So I'm not. They're not gonna sit there and just let them people just suffer like that. I'm not gonna worry about it. But then the guy was on the news and he was like, send somebody down here, send somebody to help us. He was like, the news people, they land and they record us with their cameras and then they get up and they leave us here. We ain't had no food, we ain't had no water. And he said this on the news and I was like, oh shit, this is for real. And then right at the same time, they're talking about the hurricane was about to hit Houston. After they had got some people out of New Orleans, Houston people got nervous and they panicked and they was like, let us get out of Houston. So I'm seeing on the news how people are trying to run north to Dallas to get away from the second hurricane. The second hurricane. I was like, okay, I understand it's serious in New Orleans, and now it's the second hurricane about to hit Houston. But keep in mind, I've seen videos all the time about hurricanes that hit Galveston. They showed how houses are built up high because hurricanes hit Galveston so much that you can't have your house on the ground. So I was like, okay, a little bit. I understand it's serious in New Orleans because the guy happened, and then but then I was like, well, it's about to hit, a second hurricane's about to hit Houston. It's there's no way a second hurricane is going to do the exact same thing to New Orleans. I mean to Houston that they did to New Orleans. And then they start showing these people that the interstates were like locked. Everybody was just sitting on the interstate because they were trying to get out of Houston. I was like, this is not, something's wrong with this whole thing. I don't understand. I know that a hurricane hit New Orleans and it shut it down. I get that. Then everybody ran to Houston, and then now they're trying to get out of Houston. So I get in my car after this same news report. I get in my car, and for about 2 to 3 hours, I'm driving around Dallas looking for the same panic that I saw on the news in Houston, and I see nothing. Nothing. I rode 635. 635 goes all the way around. As a matter of fact, 635 goes around Dallas all the way over to Fort Worth and then it circles the whole DFW area. I get on 635 and I ride that motherfucker twice around the whole city. Regular traffic. Okay. So let me check 35 because 35 is the interstate that comes up from Houston. I get on 35 and I ride it from Lancaster all the way up to Denton. Regular traffic. And they're talking about in Houston, hotels are sold out. And so I stopped. Did I stop? I stopped at a hotel to see if they had rooms available. I didn't go inside. you can just tell from the outside because there's the parking lots were regular. I've seen a parking lot for a hotel that's like packed. No, they were regular. I was like, something's not right. So I go back to the house and I'm watching the news again. And they're talking about people stuck on the interstate, they can't go nowhere. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so if everybody's on the interstate, what I'm going to do is, if I was there, I wouldn't go straight up like everybody else. I would go west to San Antonio and then go north. And they're saying that you can't do that. They're saying on the news, after I thought this, on the news they're saying all the side streets are landlocked, or because all the cars are trying to, everybody's trying to get out of Houston at the same time. I was like, something's not, this is not registering clearly to me. Something's wrong. I stayed there for, after this whole fiasco. Now, it was on the news the whole day. All you see is people in their cars sitting on the interstate. And then the lady on the news is like, people have ran out of gas because they're sitting there with their cars running, and it's so hot outside they're trying to let it run with the air conditioning. If everybody's on the interstate, because I'm thinking like, okay, so like, like at 5 o'clock traffic, or like the morning traffic, the morning rush hour, everybody's going somewhere. So even though it moves slow, it's still going. Why is it that everybody, if they're leaving out of Houston, why is it not going? That doesn't, it's not registering to me. Why, even if everybody gets on the interstate at the same time, the traffic should still move. Why is it not moving? So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, so why don't the news crews just follow it all the way up to wherever it stopped and figure out what's going on up there? But they never did that. Okay, so it's not connecting for me. So then I'm thinking, because I can't see that, somebody must have paid all these people to get on the interstate and just sit there. This is not. So I called my friend Tion. As a matter of fact, I called Tion, and I was like, "Hey, y'all about to have another hurricane, child? Yes, everybody is running, losing their shit. All the stores is empty. How are you gonna get out the city? I went to go get a bus ticket, and they said the buses is all locked and sold out. And can you get on the plane? No, I can't get on the plane. So I'm just going to have to sit here at the house, and it's just raining and raining and raining. So, so what are you gonna do?" He said, "Nothing. I'm just gonna have to stay in the house, and I just hope it don't flood." Okay. You want me to come down there and try and get you? He's like, "No, you can't get down here. Can't nobody get out. All the interstates are blocked." Okay. Well, we talked on the phone that night until he got off the phone. Woke up the next day, and Fitzgerald came back to the house. He was like, you might want to stay for you might want to stay here for a couple of days until this whole situation with this other hurricane blows over." I was like, okay. So it rained for a couple of days, and then I was still there. Then they talking about hotels in Dallas are sold out. I didn't see that. I get on the interstates, and I'm doing everything that I normally do. Traffic is regular like it normally is. So I told Victor, I'm about to go home. He's thinking home is Nashville because keep in mind, they didn't know nobody knew I lived in South Carolina. I'm going to go to South Carolina. So I get up and I get on the interstate. I fill up my tank as much as I possibly could. And then I get to the Louisiana. Right before the Louisiana state line, I was still in Texas. I stopped at the last gas station before I got to the Louisiana state line, and I filled up again. Which it only, from Dallas to the Louisiana state line, it only took like a quarter of a tank. So I get to Louisiana, I fill up again, and I'm just driving. Mind you, traffic isn't regular on the interstate, and I'm driving through the night. So I just keep going and I keep going until I was like, well, normally if I'm driving from Dallas to South Carolina, I stop for gas. I stop to top up in Shreveport. Then again, once I get right there at the state line for, it's like close to Mississippi and Louisiana state line. So I keep going, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to stop now. I stop and get off at the gas station, and the gas station is, they say they're sold out of gas. Okay, so I get on the interstate again, and I keep going. I was like, I'm gonna skip this exit, these next couple of exits. I'm gonna keep going. It was the last exit before there's a city at the state line of Mississippi and Louisiana. I can't remember what the name of it is. And I stopped at the gas station there. Still no gas. I keep going into Louisiana. Okay. I get into, not Louisiana, I get into Mississippi. Now, what was I at? I can't remember. I stopped for gas somewhere, and they had gas. No, it was a closed gas station, but you could use a debit card at the gas tank, at the gas pump or something. And I did that. I got as much gas as I could, and I kept going until I got on the other side of Mississippi. Now, keep in mind, Katrina had went up through Mississippi. I didn't know this. So I'm riding through Mississippi, and I get right before I get to the Alabama state line to gas up again, and there's a line at the gas station, and I pulled up to the gas pump, but I couldn't get no gas. They said, we're out of gas, we're waiting on a delivery. And so while I'm there, all of a sudden there's a line all the way up to the exit for gas. I sat there for like 4 hours, and I went to sleep, woke up. The guy got there, he pumped the gas into the thing, and it was like, they told us we could only get $20 for gas because there's a shortage because of the hurricane. But I had used my debit card, and I went ahead and filled up my tank. And if I'm not mistaken, they told me that I was the last person who was able to get as much gas as I did. Got in the car, and then I kept going, and I made it back to South Carolina. And that was my experience with Katrina. That's how I knew Katrina was real, because of the gas shortage and what happened in Mississippi. That's when it hit me, like, for real, like, okay, it actually happened. There was an actual hurricane, and this shit that people say on TV, they actually went through that. That's how I knew. That's the only way. Other than that, I feel like somebody was tricking me, and the shit wasn't real, because I did not see it. It didn't hit me. It didn't impact me until I got to Mississippi, and I had to sit at their gas pump for about 4 hours before they made a delivery, because they was out of gas.